This episode of After Sex Ed is brought to you by Beducated, the Netflix of sexual wellness. Elevate your sexual happiness, intimacy, experiment, and deepen your connection with yourself and your partner today. Use the coupon code AFTERSEXED to get 65% off of the yearly pass and have access to all of the Beducated courses for 1 day for free. The After Sex Ed discount will be locked in for life. Click on the link to get it now, and thanks for tuning in. Hi everyone, welcome to After Sex Ed with Sabrina. I'm so happy that I got this person today, Casey Hudecki. Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Hi.
Hudecki.
Casey is a intimacy coordinator on movie sets, on television sets all over the place. And if you're like, what is that? We're going to find out everything. And I am just so excited to talk to you. Casey's very busy because there's lots of filming, I suppose, going on in Toronto. And your skills are needed.
There is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I will start. I always ask people, I ask every guest, how did you learn about sex? Because I love to hear people's stories. But I almost want to try something with you. And if it doesn't make sense, it's fine. We can move on. But if you wanted to answer how you learned about sex, your main resource, that'd be great. And then also potentially, this is I don't even know if I'm asking it right. What did you unlearn about sex? Does that make sense? What's your
Oh.
Yeah, because I feel like that's almost a better question.
I learned, God, I was trying to remember because I saw that question. I was like, ooh. I know my mom sat me and my older brother down and told us about the science of how babies are made, but I don't remember. I feel like it was very the sperm and the egg, but it's what about the penis and the vagina? And it's what about consent? That was not a part of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that lots of people, their explanation, their breakdown of sex, especially from their parents, tends to be mechanical. That there's a penis, there's a thing, and then there's a baby, Yeah.
This is the bare minimum that I have to tell you.
Yeah.
And I think I had to learn a lot about consent, about pleasure, about communication.
Yeah.
So those are the things I had to unlearn not doing.
Yeah.
Or does that make sense?
Yeah. To learn how to do, to unlearn that those things weren't all that important, I suppose. Oh, these are foundational things. I need to know what feels good or know what to do or when to stop, stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think it was a big no means no time. So that was a catchphrase of the time, but it wasn't well, how do you say no? And when do you say no? And then what happens? And who is that targeted at? Is that targeted at it was kind of boy targeted. I felt like no means no. You have to respect their no. But there wasn't actually any further discussion. So it wasn't a very nuanced understanding.
And this is why intimacy coordination is so important, is I think the way that we talk about consent as a sex educator, and then you're basically a sex educator too in many ways.
In some ways, yes. Although I am not involved in any real sex acts.
Okay. Okay, so let me back up a second and ask you about Intimacy Coordinators Canada. That you work with, or this is, you know what, why don't we break it down? This is your baby, Intimacy Coordinators Canada, and then I guess what is an intimacy coordinator?
Okay, so an intimacy coordinator is kind of like a stunt coordinator, but for scenes of nudity and simulated sex.
Okay.
So mainly what used to happen, and I was involved. I did scenes like this my background is in stunts and stunt coordinating, acting.
Yeah.
And I had to do some body doubling for sex scenes.
Okay.
And I was called by an executive producer who was like, okay, will you be naked in this scene? And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know. What can I say? I didn't feel whatever. Like I said yes. And then I didn't, like, nobody told me anything.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what to wear. And I didn't know, like, what was going to happen. And so the process is kind of shrouded in mystery and lack of communication, so that an actor can find out on the day, you're going to be, you know, it says hot and heavy. What does that mean? Does that mean that they're going to be naked? Does that mean that they're kissing? Does that mean that they're simulating sex? So the intimacy coordinator reads the scripts, does a breakdown, and then asks the director, great, hot and heavy, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What are you going to see? What are they going to do? And then we have conversations with the actor. This is the goal.
Yeah.
This is the story we're trying to tell. How do you feel about it? And they're given time to process that. Okay, so they want me completely naked. What part of me is going to be touching this person?
Right.
What are the shots? What are the camera angles? All of that stuff. So that they can actually give their informed, specific consent.
Yeah.
And then on the day, we're there to also help with camera angles, with performance qualities, choreography, and then barriers and modesty garments. Yeah. So, and then the other element is we exist outside the power dynamic, right? So it's not an executive producer calling you and saying, will you please simulate sex naked? They have a lot of power. So, you know, they talk to the director, or the director also has a lot of power, whether they're, you know, whether or not they want to use it maliciously, they still have that power. So they can talk with the director can say, this is what's going to happen. And then I talk to them separately and I go, so are you okay with that?
Right.
Tell me really.
Yeah. Okay. I almost want to like almost back up and like, what's the day in the life of an actor like, you know? And I want to talk about Me Too, because from what I can understand, like based on some research that I've done about intimacy coordination, the Me Too movement happens, everyone knows, 2018, and it kind of blows up your industry. And intimacy coordinators, is it fair to say, is this job created basically as a direct response to Me Too?
I think, yes. So intimacy coordination really kind of took root after Me Too. I think it was given, you know, a chance. It did exist.
Oh, it did exist.
So yeah, it actually kind of started in theater during the Time's Up, you know, Chicago theater standards, those sort of events. And then from Me Too, film started going, okay, actually, that does make sense. And so I trained with Alicia Rodas, who was kind of the first intimacy coordinator, who was called an intimacy coordinator.
Okay.
And she worked on The Deuce. She came...
Yeah, what The Deuce? What is that? I gotta look it up.
The Deuce, it's an HBO show about the porn industry in the 70s.
Oh, okay, wow.
Yeah,
good fit.
So it's a lot of sex.
Yeah.
And the actress said, I need someone to like be talking to me about the sex.
Yeah.
Like, who's going to tell me what to do and make it safe? And
sorry, forgive me. This was post Me Too, or in the midst of the Me Too? Yeah. Okay.
Kind of in the midst, but yes, post Me Too.
Okay.
Post Weinstein.
Gotcha. That's kind of like my line, like my timeline, post Weinstein. But anyways, go on. Yes. Yeah.
And then meanwhile in Canada, HBO was also piloting this intimacy coordination project with Lindsay Summers, who started Intimacy Coordinators Canada. Okay. And we run it together. Okay. So that's our sort of history.
Okay, gotcha. So a day in the life of an actor, let's say. So like, because like the average person doesn't really know. And I think when people were hearing things about, you're talking about directors having power and intimacy coordinators be brokering relationships between actors and directors. And I think for me, because I'm not an actor and I don't really have much experience on set, I think for a lot of people like myself are like, why don't you just tell the director no? Why aren't you talking to the director directly? But there's like a caste system, isn't there? There's like a hierarchy on the set, from what I can understand. People aren't usually allowed to talk to the directors. Am I right?
Well, I think the actors and the directors should always talk.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's more about avoiding surprises.
Yeah.
So to be clear, my job is not to get between the director and the actor.
Yeah.
I think their relationship is very important.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to censor. I am not a censor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the police there, right? I am just a person that can open a door if an actor is uncomfortable.
Okay.
And find a way to negotiate a way to tell the story in a way that respects their boundaries.
Okay.
So that I think often originally actors were treated kind of like moving props, right?
Right.
You don't really have agency. Your job is to go there and commit to the story and say yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the big improv. And we're like trained, like I went to theater school and you're trained to say yes to everything. And it's, I think that no is the gateway to creativity, right? Say yes to everything. Like how much have we examined that?
Right. Right.
So just as a director has to make decisions about how the stunt is going to look or how, what this, what props to put in the set deck. We're asking, okay, we'll make some decisions beforehand so that an actor doesn't have to find out on the day. You have to be naked and you have to.
See, I think that's where it is for me. It's like, so take me in the day of a life of an actor, like of an actor, Casey, like, and let's say for just an argument's sake, pre-Me Too, pre-intimacy coordinator stuff. Is it possible? Like, this is how I see it in my mind as a non-actor. And then you just correct me. Casey gets a call. Hey, can you got this part? Can you come to the set? You're like, sure, when? They're like, tomorrow. And you're like, oh, wow, okay. And then you get there and they're like, here's your script. You're naked today. Like, what is the likelihood that you're going to be told day of?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you like a percentage likelihood, but changes happen on the fly in film and television constantly. And so it could be like, okay, we thought you were going to be dressed for this pool scene, but now you actually take off your top and jump in. Can you do that? Great. So, and I honestly don't think a lot of these changes last minute were malicious.
Right.
I think it's just that film and especially television are a machine, and it's very easy to lose track of the individual and the vulnerability of what it takes to perform. It's just easy to forget that, for the mental health of this performer, it's good to know beforehand. Yeah. Right? So,
okay, so then a day in the life would be like, okay, Casey gets a call, like this is like post Me Too in my mind, intimacy coordinators there, get that call, hey, come to the set, you're like, great, and then you get your script, change on the fly, oh, we decided you're gonna actually be topless in the pool, and you're like, okay, and now where does the intimacy coordinator's role come in? Are they like, no, is that okay with you? You have to tell her beforehand, she needs 48 hours notice, things like that?
Yeah. So that would be way too late. Okay. If I was there, I'd be like, sorry, no. I wouldn't even go to the actor, right? I'd be like, I'm sorry, there's no rider for that. So now the process goes, okay, you get a call, you get a script. The script says you're going to be topless in the pool, or it says you're just in a pool. Yeah. And I have a meeting as the intimacy coordinator with the director, and the director goes, can they be topless? Okay. And I go, I'll ask. And so I talk to the actor days, weeks, if possible, beforehand. And I say, they'd like you topless in this. How do you feel about that? And they go, oh, well, maybe if they only shoot me from behind, or if they only shoot side boob, or, you know, like what position am I in? And we get really specific. And I'll bring that back to the director and be like, yeah, they're cool with it, but how do you want to shoot it? Like, these angles are not good, you know? Or whatever. And then that gets drafted into a nudity and a simulated sex rider, which is essentially,
and what's a rider?
It's like a contract sidecar that says, this is what you're agreeing to being topless from these angles, yada, yada, so that they can't ask for more on the day. They can't be like, oh, by the way, also you're bottomless and you're kissing this guy who's completely naked. Like, they can't. That's against the unions now.
I have like so many questions. Like, it's like, I don't even, like, I just like furiously scribbling notes. I think, like, I guess, it's like reception to this is like, I could see this from a non-actor intimacy, whatever standpoint, as going in two separate ways. Like, Me Too, without question, has like rocked your industry, but it's like rocked everything, and it needed to be rocked. Like, everything. We needed to have these conversations a long time ago. So I could see some directors or some studios being like, Casey, intimacy coordinator, like, please make sure that everyone's comfortable. I do not want anything bad to happen. And then I could see some directors being like, you're fucking with my process. What I really want is for the actors to be shocked, like, and to be, I'm not getting authenticity from them. I don't know. And do you find that?
Yeah. Okay. So chemistry, can you get real authenticity in the moment if they know everything?
Right.
Well, yes, you can choreograph chemistry. You can choreograph. Most actors that I know are, and there are certainly actors who are like, I don't need to talk to you. I'm totally fine.
Yeah.
And as long as they tell me that, that's fine.
Okay.
If they're saying, like, if they're giving consent and they're like, I really want to just, you know, they can do anything they want except for, you know, I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah, I'll use my imagination. Yeah.
Insert boundary. Then great. Like, I'm not there to be like, no, but really, let's slow down and let's all hold hands and breathe. Like, I don't need, you know, I will take yes as an answer.
Yeah.
But generally, if you create some boundaries, you are freer to commit to your role within those boundaries.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So it actually honestly helps unlock that piece for an actor. If they're scared that their co-star is going to touch them where they don't want to be touched, or surprise them, or the director's going to ask for something completely out of the blue,
right,
they are not free to perform and commit to their role.
I just want to jump in and say one thing. This sounds like, okay, so the sponsor of this episode is Beducated, and we love Beducated. And I took a bunch of classes. Beducated. Amazing. And use After Sex Ed to get 1 day for free and 65% off. What you're talking about setting boundaries, I took a couple of BDSM classes on Beducated, and I looked at some intimacy classes too. There's so much that's similar. Like, specifically with BDSM, I learned a ton in that there's so much boundary setting. And in the boundary setting is a lot of freedom, you know, and that makes people feel safe to be who they are. Like, I can see that. Like, I can see that there's a lot of power in that. And that could actually free the creative process. That doesn't surprise me at all. To the point where I'm like, how were they not doing this before? Like, it's just nuts.
I mean, it's like, you can, I don't agree with you have to surprise and get like a real authentic like fear, or you know, like, you are much more likely to create harm, trauma, right? Like, you don't know what you're activating in that actor. And then, you know, good for you, maybe you'll get an Oscar for that, but you've damaged someone,
right?
And I think that story will come around too. but yeah, there's a study, right, that if you that when schools do not have fences around the playground, the kids play against the school. But as soon as there are fences, they spread out and they can play however within those fences, right?
Yeah.
Because they can see the boundary of the safety, like they can go right to the edge. And that's what we want. We want people to go right to the edge. And those boundaries can change.
Of course,
right? If you get there on the day and you're like, actually, you know what? So here's where consent is different in film and television.
Okay.
So if you do the Planned Parenthood acronym, right?
Oh, is it FRIES? Yeah.
Freely given. I'm going to misspell
I'm
FRIES.
I'm going to screw it up too.
Reversible, informed, enthusiastic, and specific.
Yeah.
So the tricky things there, I think, in film are reversible, because you're on a contract, right?
Right.
You don't want to get there on the day and have the actor go, I'm not doing this.
Right.
And so that, I think, can scare productions.
Right.
But it has to be reversible. And it's only reversed. I have maybe on 2 occasions been in a situation where an actor has reversed their consent, and that's because something changed, right?
Okay.
So as long as we have these discussions early enough, and the actor can prepare for what the expectation is, like 9.9 times out of 10, they're not going to reverse their consent.
Yeah.
But the other thing is enthusiastic, right?
Right.
So in an actual sexual encounter, you want to be enthusiastic. In film and television, you can be telling a very difficult story.
Right.
So with my stunt background, I did a lot of sexual violence, scenes of sexual violence.
Wow. Okay.
I've performed them, I've choreographed them, right? And those scenes are hard.
Yeah.
So for me, the E is empowered.
Okay.
So you're not going to enthusiastically necessarily perform the role of a rapist.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
But you are empowered because you know what the story is, you know what the boundaries are, you know that, there's choreography with your partner, and you have an agreement with them. Right. And so that's where it's different for me.
The other half of my question that I asked you was like, you talked about authenticity, and that, directors and studios and actors even probably having an issue with authenticity. So they're like not really feeling you, and they're like, I don't know how I feel about this intimacy coordinator. But then are there studios or are there experiences that you've had where you're like, they're so receptive and you think that it's making an impact? Like intimacy coordination is here to stay?
I think it is here to stay. Intimacy coordination is now mandated through many studios. Okay. It's recommended through most unions. We're not part of the unions yet, but most networks need to have an intimacy coordinator there. Okay. So it is very... Yes, absolutely, it's coming around. And there are the people that are resistant tend to be resistant because they don't know what an intimacy coordinator is, or they assume that we're there to, censor the process. Yeah, you're mom and you're scolding the kids and oh, really? Yeah. You need them to simulate sex? I'm like, yes, that's why I help you. Yeah. We need to help you simulate sex. Yeah. And then there are a lot of especially younger actors are they're asking for it already. Wow. They're like, of course we need this. Yeah. Because now they're coming into the industry with a different awareness. So yeah, most actors are very appreciative. And directors too. Most directors I work with who were resistant come around to it when they realize that I'm not there to get in the way.
I almost want to, again, take me a day in the life of. So like now you're not an actress. Now you're the intimacy coordinator, and they're like, and you know well in advance, okay, I'm going to coordinate this sex scene between this man and this woman, and this is your job to make it choreograph chemistry and choreograph intimacy, which is like, interesting. I want to know what that looks like. So you get the actor and the actress, let's say, in the room, and let's say it's a love scene, a romantic love scene. Like, how does it start? Do they know each other beforehand? Like, what? Like, take me from the beginning.
So, yeah, great. Ideally, I have a rehearsal with them.
Okay.
So, and this will be, maybe it's with the director, maybe not, because there are some directors who are like, oh, I hate doing this. Just work with them and get together and rehearse it and show me.
Yeah.
Right? So in that case, and I just had a rehearsal like this on Sex Life season 2, we
love that show.
And I won't give away any details because I can't, but but we and maybe I shouldn't say I'm on season 1. Because we also did this in season 1.
Okay.
Is we got together and we read through the scene.
Yeah.
And we talk through, like, what is the story of this intimacy?
Okay.
Right? Like, what is the point of this scene?
Mm-hmm.
Is it just, like, I'm obsessed with story. And, like, for me, a story has to, like, give us something new, give us a piece of information about these characters, or something changes in this scene, or so what is that, and how do these characters play this story? Who initiates? Who like kind of what kind of sex are they having? What's the tone? What's the intensity? And we'll work through, and if they've never met, I'll probably play just not. It's very, like, in theater, you get to play more games. In film, it's really like,
okay.
Let's go. But I do have some sort of exercises that we can do to just, like, get present with each other, and get comfortable with touching each other, and practicing asking to touch, and receiving a no. I think the hardest thing is when someone says no, accepting that no, and not like beating yourself for it. Right? So I like to frame the misstep. So let's say I overstep your boundary by accident.
Okay.
Let's just say that will happen.
Okay.
So how will we manage that?
Yeah.
Right? So what's the process? And then, we're going to apologize. We're going to identify what the boundary was and how we'll, move forward by respecting it. Because you're trying to build a partnership, right? And some trust. And trust isn't built overnight.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll do is I will always context these scenes in terms of character.
Okay.
So I'm not... Because, pre-Me Too, it would have been like, okay, you're in love. Just do what feels right. Go.
Yeah.
Which kind of like creates a recipe for overstepping a boundary.
Yeah, I can see, like, am I actually in love with this person? What's the difference between a fake kiss and a real kiss? Now I'm like just straight up in love with this person now. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, man.
And that is a thing. Showmances.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? People hook up with their co-stars all the time. So the first reason I context it through the lens of character is you do want a bit of a separation, right? So that you're not also exposing your own personal practices, right? Like, because they may not be relevant to the character. And then the other thing is I created just a brief closure, right? So that, because your body doesn't know the difference between a real kiss and a fake kiss. Right. Your skin is against someone else's skin. Yeah. Right? Like that, the body doesn't know. Yeah. No, not do what's happening. Yeah. Right? So closure is important to just sort of step back out of that and go, okay, thank you for that piece of work. Put a button on it that helps your brain separate, you know, the professional piece of work you just did and, you know, and step back into, you know, your real life.
That makes sense. Like, and scene. Like, it has to be like a very clear separation. There's something that you said about being hot and heavy. So like, that just makes me laugh, because is that a thing? Like, so let's say, because you were saying in the beginning, a director would say, I want this one to be hot and heavy. And then you're like, okay, well, what the hell does that mean? So what does that mean? Like, and what does that look like? So director says, I want these two, you know, you actress and actor, whatever, get it hot and heavy. Do you give them, this is how I see it in my mind, are you giving them actual like physical cues? Like, okay, director says hot and heavy, that means your hair's got to be all messed up, let me mess your hair up. Or like, is it like that? Or are you like, no, we have to break down what that even means? Like, I don't, like, I'm just wondering how much of it is actual choreographing, put her hand there, put said hand there, super hot and heavy. Does that make sense?
So it's like everything in this job. It depends. Right. So sometimes we just go, okay, it's hot and heavy, which means for like some of it we do have to have in black and white, right? Which is, we're not going to see below the belt and, you know, we're not going to see nipples. Great. But otherwise clothes are coming off.
Right.
Fine.
Right.
That's what we're going to see. And you're not going to simulate sex or whatever. You're just making out. Fine. So within that, I can choreograph every breath and fingertip. If that's what will help the director and the actors. Okay. Sometimes that helps. Yeah. Or we can say, these are the anchor points of this. This is the framework, right? This is the blueprint. Yeah. We're going to I'm going to put my hands in your hair. I'm going to be clutching you. Yeah. And you can touch me anywhere, but you know, my front body. Okay. Yeah. So this is the playground. Okay. These are the limits of the playground. Yeah. And then go for it, right? Because some actors don't want a lot of like, you know, specific choreography. They want to feel it out. Yeah. Right? So let's just define, okay, are you giving me tongue? Yeah. Or is this just a closed mouth kiss? Like it's down to that detail? Like, or you're saying it can be down to that detail sometimes, is what you're saying. I ask leading questions. Okay. Because often actors are like, they can do anything they want. And I go, great, okay, so can they slip you the tongue, right? Are you going to open your mouth and are you okay with their tongue in your mouth? And then they'll be like, oh, I didn't think of that. Right? Or, you know, can they, so forth. Yeah. That is more script related. Right. So, and those are the kinds of questions that I ask the director as well. Right. So like the director will be like, I know exactly what I want. Or they'll be like, you know, it'll start here and it'll start there. And I don't know. Yeah. And so I'll ask them leading questions. Okay. So cool. Like I just, and they're allowed to be like, okay, enough. Like, this is too much, or like, stop. I don't like that. Like all of these things are okay. In a sex scene. At what point? Yeah. Like, or I guess like, it's just from a non-actor's perspective, because all of this for me is built on the foundation of Me Too, and like we don't want this to happen again. So like I guess like it's like I want to know what it was like pre-Me Too and like post, you know. And I can see the differences in what you're saying. Like it's just like were actors like never allowed to be like, I don't want him to do that, or like cut the scene. Like, could you just do that, or you're just supposed to be like taken away? Like, I don't know. I think the problem is that there was no structure for it, right? Yeah. So if you were lucky, you would have a director that cared about your feelings, right? Or had the language to describe what they want and not like actually touch your body, or you know, so it relied on a lot of luck. You had a costumer maybe that was like, oh, come here, I'll help you. And so it kind of fell, it was something that fell between the cracks. So if you're very good at advocating for yourself, then you can, you know, protect yourself. But if not, then, you know, like it, and a lot of that again comes down to power.
Yeah.
Are you a big name?
Yeah.
You can probably say no.
Yeah.
Are you, you know, a background performer who has to be naked and simulating sex in the background of an orgy scene?
Right.
It is very possible you were going to get assaulted, right?
Oh my God. So did Me Too shock you in any way? Did it shock anyone in the industry, like when it started happening? You know what I mean?
I mean, I can't speak for everyone in the industry. But,
oh, okay. No, of course not. But I guess you.
It's not. It didn't shock me at all. No.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe the accountability shocked me.
Yeah. Yeah. That people were actually getting called out, you mean? And like they were, and heads were rolling? Yeah.
Yeah. The change happens, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it's very easy. Like, I think you can approach this work in a couple different ways. And I think it's really important to not approach it like everyone's trying to get away with something.
Right.
Like, you know, like there's a camera operator who is inside the closed set, right? So actors are disrobing and simulating sex, and they're just there pointing the camera. Like, I never assumed that they're trying to see something they didn't want to see. They just need clarity.
Yeah.
Right? They need clarity of like, okay, we're going to turn this way. They're getting ready. Now they're robed. Great. We can turn back, right?
Yeah.
They just need the clarity. And I think that is what was missing a lot in the industry. If you didn't have someone who had that clarity, like running the show, like an AD. But so again, it came down to luck.
Yeah. See, like just zooming out, it's like, oh my God, how did you not have this before? It almost like when it comes down to luck, when you don't have rules in place, you know what I mean? It's like shocking it took this long for like something of that magnitude to happen. You know what I mean? And then of course, just so many people came forward.
Pre-Me Too, like I did these simulated sex scenes, and again, it was like I was not assaulted. I was respected by the crew but at the same time, you know, the camera operators making comments about, you know, oh, I didn't know you did this kind of thing, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't do this kind of thing. Like, this is my first time. And like, what piece of modesty am I supposed to wear, and how does it go on? And did I do it well? Did I look good? How do, like, there was so much sort of mystery about it that I still left feeling shame. Right. Because I had so many questions and I had no one to ask those questions to. So I think that's like one of the areas where we can, you know, provide a lot of relief and comfort for actors who are like, oh, did it look good? Am I like, like, you know, you perform an orgasm vocally.
Yeah. So vulnerable. Oh my God.
It's so vulnerable.
Do actors say like, ew, we don't like your orgasm face, do it better? Like, that would just cut me like 1,000 knives. Like, oh my God.
So if they're not someone who can be tactful to an actor, or would say something like that, they say that to me. Yeah. So they'll say, "Oh, her orgasm face is terrible." So I'll go to the actor and be like, "Okay, that was great. Let's try one where, you know, like," and I can. It's like you can't tell an actor be sexier. Yeah, that's not playable. Right. So my training is in movement, right? Yeah. So I can be like, okay, we're going to drop the breath. Yeah. We're going to breathe together. We're going to move the hips. We're going to rotate. And so I can coach very technical things. Yeah. That will sell sexy. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You know, it almost makes me think at the end of each sex scene, I think we talked about it before a while ago, is there like an aftercare process? At the end of each sex scene, you sit down and go like, okay, what'd you think? Did that feel good? And like, remember, that was your character and that wasn't you. And like, you know, any boundaries crossed. And I wonder if like I mean, it sounds like not only are you coordinating intimacy, but you're a counselor, I'd say, in a lot of ways. Like if they're going to tell you, Casey, that she made me so uncomfortable. Like, what do you do next? You know?
Yeah. So, and that can happen, right?
Yeah.
There is a structure in place for a lot of that stuff. So yeah. I am not a counselor.
Okay.
But I am someone that they can talk to.
That's what I mean. Mom. Yeah.
I'm someone who has been in those positions. Yeah. So a lot of times it is just listening.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. If it is something that, like, if we're going to have recurring scenes. Yeah. Then I will absolutely check in and be like, okay, how did that go for you? Yeah. Is there something we can tweak for next time? Yeah. How is your relationship with this director? Right. How is your relationship with this co-star? Yeah. And they might say, oh, it was fine. Yeah. Or they might be like, actually, I need more padding, or I don't like how they spoke to me. So that is something that I can kind of mediate. Yeah. Yeah. If it's bigger than that, like an assault or something, then that goes up the chain. Yeah. Like that goes to the structure of, you know, that is bigger than me.
I guess I see it almost as you would be potentially point A. Like it's I guess in my mind, like if you're there coordinating, are you okay? And then people trust you, and then they might view you as somebody like, okay, this person crossed the line, I'll go to you. I guess what I want to know is, and I think a lot of people are going to want to know is, how do you become an intimacy coordinator? You know, what kind of background do you need? And like, what kinds of things should you expect on set? But anyways, but if you could talk about the process of becoming an intimacy coordinator, like I would really appreciate that.
There's a lot of like different training that helps to have. So for me and for the people that I train, I tell them that like, okay, so a film and television experience is very important to have experience in the industry, because it's not, you are again jumping into a machine that works a very specific way, has all sorts of different roles. Like you said, oh, it's hot and heavy, should I mess up the hair? Yeah. No, you would never touch an actor's hair. That's the hair department.
Oh my God.
Right? Yeah, you'll get.
Yeah.
So how does that machine work? What is the set etiquette? Is super important. So any work as an AD or in costumes or directing, whatever, is super helpful. Mm-hmm. Can you do it without? Yes, these things are learnable. Yeah. Right? Everything's learnable. And then an understanding of movement, and especially movement coaching, movement directing. I'm a fight instructor and a stage combat instructor, and I have been for 20 years. So it's like choreographing stories is my language. Yeah. So I'm used to, like making bodies tell stories. And so that's very useful, because, and then adding the camera to that story. Yeah. Right? Because we are, just like a fight scene, we are creating an illusion of something. Yeah. The fist is not hitting the face. Yeah. And, you know, the hips are not actually, you know, like no sex act is happening. Yeah. So you need to create that illusion with the camera. And know where those angles work. Yeah. And then there's all the soft touch skills of, you know, advocacy and mental health first aid, and understanding sexual identity and gender and cultural competency and trauma awareness. Which, I mean, I call those soft skills. Those are not skills. Those are big skills. But then knowing how and when to fit those into this work is very difficult, because we are still defining our lane, right?
Like, that's what I was going to say. Like, sorry to cut you off. You were saying it's here to stay, and studios are are just straight up asking for it. Like, so this is a job field that's growing. Like, and there's, I would assume just the demand is going to increase and increase and increase. So like, but I guess you're the director of Intimacy Coordinators Canada. Is that right?
I'm a partner.
You're a partner. Yeah, forgive me. Okay.
I'm the director of education.
Yeah.
Which I almost have time to do. Oh yeah. So we
of course so is. Yeah.
We run a certification course.
Yeah.
And I do highly recommend that anyone interested in this work has some of those skills and experiences that I talked about, but also goes through a training process, because this industry and this job in particular is evolving so quickly that if you are not in community with those that are setting these standards and keeping up with these standards, it's not an easy, you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
No, but I know what you mean. Yeah, like it's like, well, the way I'm viewing it is that it's like it's just started, basically. It's in its infancy, toddler stage, and a lot of things are changing, and like language is changing every day, and like all kinds of different things that people want. So you'd have to be really immersed in that community. I understand what you're saying, yeah, but it says to me on the outside looking in that people that have an interest in acting, people that have an interest in crisis counseling, even people that have an interest in maybe even personal training and body movement, the way that you're describing, dance, might have a good fit with this.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And honestly, we need every kind of person doing this.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because your lived experience is also like crucial to, like, there's a lot of stories now about like trans characters are you know, if you look at Pose, yeah.
Oh, I love
Pose
it.
was my Wordle word.
I'm the only one not wordling at the moment. Oh my god, but I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, I got dragged into it. Whatever.
Everyone around me is
paywall soon.
Whatever. Yeah, no, for sure. Those days, free fun. I'm sure it's gonna go. It's just way too popular. But anyways.
Yeah. But like, no stories about us without us, right? I should not. I mean, I'm not the best person to coordinate those scenes. Yeah, I can do it, and I am a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Right, but it's just something that has to be factored in.
Yeah. So Intimacy Coordinators Canada has a website, has Instagram. Do you have TikTok?
I don't know. I don't TikTok.
Okay. This is for anyone that's listening. If you're curious about these courses or you're curious about this profession, it's all there for you. They've got a website, Instagram, I think Facebook I've seen you on. So the info's there, because like when I tell people I told a bunch of my friends I'm interviewing an intimacy coordinator. Let me tell you, people are like, what? They're like, eyes light up. What the hell is that? And then they're like, oh, like, how do you do that? Like, I want to do that. And anyways, it's so fun.
It's much less. It's a much less sexier job. Than it sounds.
Yeah.
And people are either like, how did that not already exist?
Right.
Or you are a con artist that is like creating a job that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
And honestly, like when I started, I had all that bad macho programming. I come from this stunt world where I was like, you know what? I've been, how many sexual assault scenes have I done where, I was literally told once, oh, you're going to stunt double someone today. We're going to throw you in for this other character. And I'm like, great. What's their costume? Don't worry about it. There is no costume. And I'm like, what do you mean there is no costume? And,
oh my God.
And they're like, oh no, it's underpants. Your costume is underpants. And I'm like,
what?
Guys, do it.
I don't mean to laugh. That's just nuts. Anyways. And then you're like, what's the big deal with everybody? My God, they threw me into an underpants scene and I was cool. Like I can see how that just becomes so normalized. You're like, grow up,
I've done these scenes naked and on fire. What's your problem? Yeah. And I think we all have that programming, right? Especially those of us who are older. Like we have to make room for this.
Yeah.
This is, and it's the right thing. It's the right move.
I almost think like the more I study sex, the more I'm like, this is why I started after sex ed, is because just grown-ups need courses or something. And like, it's almost like anybody, even if you don't want to be an intimacy coordinator, could likely benefit from some of the training just in their everyday life, you know?
It's true. Like, and one thing I would recommend trying is, just say no to something.
Yeah.
And see what happens to you.
Yeah.
Or listen to someone say no.
Yeah.
And just try to accept that without judging yourself or thinking you did something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, get used to no in your life and seeing that as a gift you can give someone or receive from someone. Thank you for telling me your boundary.
Yeah.
Now I know how to respect you and engage with you.
Like, no is a full sentence. I see a lot, like, on Instagram. Yeah. It's a full sentence in life, in sex. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a negotiation point. Like, get comfortable saying it. Get comfortable hearing it. I know you have a hard stop, so I won't keep you too long. But I always ask people what their favorite movie sex scene is. But I want like so much more from you. Like I do want to hear what your favorite movie sex scene is, because I just love movies so much. And like my sex education really mainly was movies. Like that's how I learned how to do everything, you know?
So true.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer this question. It's so funny. If you were like, what's your favorite movie fight scene? I'm like, got it.
Yeah.
But, because that's been my life. But sex scenes, it's like there are, okay, funny story.
Okay.
Me and my brothers were big into jets and the air show. And when we were very little, we were so into the movie Top Gun.
Oh, yeah.
And so let me preface this with, I don't agree with endorse pirating.
Okay.
But
gotcha.
We would, and I'm dating myself, like rent Top Gun, a VHS, and my dad would record it onto beta. So shut up. We recorded it onto beta, and he, because we were so young, he edited out the sex scene.
Wow. Take my breath away. Oh, yeah.
We watched it. I didn't see it until my adulthood.
Wow.
But it, like, honestly, I didn't miss it necessarily. It's not like a lengthy or it's actually quite short, you know. But I actually really like the elevator scene, right? Where they're just like apart in the elevator and like they look at each other. There's other people in the elevator and the music starts.
Sexual tension.
Like, so for me, a sex scene has to have, like, it has to be connected to the story.
Yeah.
If it's just beautiful sex for sex sake, like, you know, and there's something to that too with fights. Like, if it's just a fight for no reason, like, I will enjoy the fight for technical reasons and the flashiness of it. Like, okay. But I might tune out too. Yeah. So there has to be a hook. I also love when sex scenes are combined with comedy.
Oh yeah. Like, oh, good for you. Now I'm thinking, what are some funny sex scenes?
Like Jamie Lee Curtis in True Lies.
Yeah.
Right? Like, she does this striptease for Arnold Schwarzenegger, and she's so funny, but she's so beautiful, but she also doesn't really know she's beautiful. And she's like discovering something. Yeah. Sex scenes with discovery. Ooh. Discovery is big. And him discovering her, just watching her and like getting all like, oh my God, I didn't know that you had a scene.
How has nobody mentioned True Lies? That was like such a linchpin moment for me where I was like, oh, that's like the hottest thing I've ever seen. Like, do it too small, do it slowly. Like, I remember it so well. Now you're talking about sex and comedy. This is so old. There's this, I think the movie's called Tom Jones, and they're eating they're eating and they're like ripping like the meat off the chicken bone, and they're like and there's like food just like dribbling down them, and they're like licking bread and stuff. I remember like that movie is so old. It must be. I think it's from the 30s or 40s. It's like crazy old, or maybe it's like I have no idea. But I remember seeing it as a kid and being like, "What are they doing?" And they're like having sex with the food and each other, and that's so like, and it's hilarious. Like it's hilarious, but so like it's so funny and sexy at the same time. You just gave me like a gold mine here of all my favorite comedic sex scenes, which like which we don't realize. Like this is what I don't even know if I'm articulating this properly. The more I study sex, because I'm in grad school and I'm doing all kinds of stuff, it is so difficult to talk about sex without talking about power and politics and the seriousness of it. And then there are just times where I am reading things and laughing, and my classmates and I are just like howling at some of the responses in case studies, or like some of the exercises we have to do. We're like blushing, and like you think I'm not shy. I am. It's funny. Like we forget how funny sex is, even in real life. You know, your sex blooper reel. Yeah. What's your favorite sex blooper?
Oh my God.
Or, I have so many sex bloopers. Like, I don't even want to start.
I'm thinking of like sex on set bloopers, which I can't tell you, but I will offline.
Oh, dang. You know what? I do want to know. Like, you know, your favorite sex scenes, you talked about it, but really your favorite sex scenes coordinating, if that's possible. And also, I don't even know if I'm going to say this right, in that now that I know that you exist and that this job exists, which I didn't, and I, you know, research and Google, I'm like, oh, what do I know about it? It's coming up a lot. Like these sex scenes have been shot with an intimacy coordinator. And the ones that are jumping out are Sex Life, which is you, and Bridgerton, which is hot as hell. Like, and there's that other one.
Which is Lizzie Talbot.
Okay. It's like, when I think about like new sex scenes, ones that I'm like, that everybody's talking about, like, gotta hear about this show. It is not a coincidence to me that it's tied into intimacy coordination, that you're actually on set. I feel like you can tell now. At least I can. I think.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope you can. Like, at least you know that, you know, no actors were harmed in the.
Yes. And that's important.
Of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also really like Sex Education is doing a great job of
best job.
So inclusive with its sex scenes.
Yeah.
Euphoria. That's all with with an intimacy coordinator.
I guess with Sex Life and Bridgerton, what's jumping out to me is the female pleasure in it. Like, that's what I'm seeing. You know, maybe the story is a bit different in that it's centering on female, you know, the narratives have changed a bit, but like, it just seems really focused on their pleasure, which I'm you know, like, not that used to seeing. I wasn't used to seeing that as a kid. It was like James Bond sex. He's like shooting and says she's against the wall, bang, bang. Like, that's like, it's done, you know? These are different now.
Yeah.
At least,
we do a lot of cunnilingus.
Yeah. Oh man, keep doing that.
Speaking of which, Cruel Intentions.
Oh,
Ryan Felipe,
colorblind,
doing the alphabet.
Oh no, yeah.
So like, I totally can't think of my favorite movie sex scene, but like those are notable.
You know what? The alphabet, I remember being like, what? I don't understand that. Like, I don't get, and then she like, like crumbles. Selma Blair. I was thinking of the Colorblind. Do you remember that song Colorblind? Do you know what I'm talking about? Cruel Intentions?
Yes.
Oh my God. I must have played that 1,000 times. And that was all the story and the intensity and like, do you remember? It's Ryan Felipe and Reese Witherspoon naked, but not like naked, but you don't see anything. There's like no actual nudity, and like it's so intense. And we're thinking like, I'm gonna do it like that.
Speaking of songs, when I was super little, I remember listening to like Sweet Dreams and the Eurythmics, and I was singing it once, and I was probably like 6, and my mom was like, And I'm singing like some of them want to be abused.
Yeah.
And as a child, I'm like, oh, everybody wants different things. Like, and it was just kind of like, and I knew it was sexual, but I didn't like, I was just like, yeah.
It's like
if they want it, they want it. Oh. And my mom was like,
so for the innocence of kids, you're like, what, is this a big deal? I don't know. Is this a sexy thing? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I only remember that because she was like, how do you know those words?
I don't know. What do they even mean? I have no clue. It reminds me of when Short Dick Man came out. Like, don't want no short dick man. Huh? Do you know, it was like Gillette and 20 Fingers or something was the singers, and I had only heard the censored version, which was short man, and I thought they were talking about short guys, like not tall guys. So it's like short man. I must have been like 8 or 9. Don't want no short man. And then I heard these girls on the schoolyard singing Short Dick Man, and I was like, they're talking about dicks on the radio? Is that legal? Like, I was like, you can't do that. Like, I was so shocked. Meanwhile, I'm thinking they're just talking about short guys. And I was singing it all the time. Don't want no short man. Like, I was like 7. Oh my God. Oh my God. Anyways. You know what? When I ask people how'd you learn about sex, people like, I'm an elder millennial, so like I'm early 80s, I'm born. I love our age bracket because it's so like innocent in a way. Like, yeah, people will be like, well, I remember being at Blockbuster and there was a curtain and you could like look and there was like an adult section. I'm like, I remember that very well, you know, like peeking and like porn wasn't accessible. Like you had to like stumble upon it, seek it out, you know, and then our generation, sorry, what?
The Sunday night sex show.
That is my girl. Like, that is the big one. Yeah.
What? That is what, and I would listen to it on the radio secretly in bed. Yeah. She changed, I think, my life in a lot of ways. I had so much confusion about sex at such a pivotal point in my life. Casey, thank you so much. You can check out Intimacy Coordinators Canada on their website, on Instagram. I'm so thrilled to have you. I loved this so much. Thank you. This is great. You can do a part 2 someday. All your follow-ups.
All my follow-ups.
Yeah, you can follow me at Casey Hudecki too.
Cool. Perfect. I'll put all that down there.
But for TikTok, I don't understand TikTok.
No one really does, even though I'm on it. Whatever.
Well, I don't have time.
Anyways, thanks so much. Bye everyone.
Thank you so much.
Ciao.